Hello, Assalamu alaikum guys. This is the lecture that is regarding the movement connections, and we will start with it. So, for the movement connections, we will discuss about the rigid frame knees. Knees is the type of the connection between the beam columns, and we are going to be discussed today. These are the type of fully restrained or the movement connections. So generally the knees connections are provided for those type of the connections. Those will be the fully restrained or the movement connections. So fully restrained mean that those are going to give you the fully or completely the 100% restrained conditions for the movements. So if this is the particular condition mean fixed ended, then you are getting the movements produced at the fixed ends, and those movement are going to give you the movements are needed the connections to be designed against those movements produced at the joints or at the connection. So in this particular way the fully restrained connections are required, and these fully restrained connections or the movement connections can be developed or can be designed by using the knees connections for the rigid frames. In the design of a rigid frames, the safe transmission of the loads at the junction of the beam and column is of great importance. So just to be take or just to be get the complete, or you can say the good efficiency of the rigid frames with respect to the loads and the movements. So we need the safe transmission of the loads at the junction, at the connection of the beam and column, so that from the beams all of the loads, okay, and all of the movements needed to be transferred safely towards the column. Same as we have been discussing in the last slides for the base plate. Your base plate is also designed with the same concept, that all of the movements produced or the loads produced at the connection or the joint of the column and the base plate needed to be safely transferred towards the foundation, towards the concrete foundation. Similarly, the beam movements and the loads needed to be transferred safely towards the column. So for the load, the connection is not much, you can say, needed to be a much more consideration, but for the movements we need a very, you can say, an efficient design, so that the movement is needed to be transferred towards the beam column. Here, when the members join with their webs lying in the plane of the frames, the junction is frequently referred to as knee joints. So in the coming slides, we will discuss with the help of figures that how the knee joints be developed can be provided within the rigid frames. Typical knee joints are, first of all, we will discuss about the square knees. This is the very typical and the mostly practically used type of the knee joint within the rigid frames. That will be with the diagonal stiffener or the without diagonal stiffener you can provide. Okay, depending upon its requirement. We will see that the condition whether our knee joint, square knee joint, required a diagonal stiffener or not. Okay, so if it is required, then it will be the square knee with the diagonal stiffener. If it is not required, then we can say that our square knee we have provided without the diagonal stiffener. Those are shown in the figure. We will see the figure. The column and the beam section may be continued through the junction. So it depends that which section you are continuing. So in the figure 1, you can see the A figure is the square knee without the stiffener, and the B figure is the square knee with the stiffener. This stiffener is going to be called as this diagonal stiffener you are providing here. Okay, so this diagonal stiffener, how it is going to be increase the efficiency of the square knees, we will discuss in the coming slides when we will discuss about the stiffener and its design. Okay, so in this particular part of our lecture, we will only discuss about the type of the knee. Schematically, you can see over here, this is in 2 dimension. So here we can see that our column is going to be discontinuing over here, and the beam part is continuing in this particular direction, and the flanges are going to be discontinuing, okay, over here, flange of the right flange of the column, and the web is also going to be give you a disconnection. Okay, it is discontinuing just when the knee part of the joint part has been started, but the left flange of the column is giving you a continuation till the corner of the square knee, the top left corner of the square knee. And similarly, if you see about the beam, your beam is giving you a simple continuation within the square joint part, the bottom flange and the top flange both, and also the web. Okay, so here also the vertical stiffener has been provided. Okay, so here you can see in this figure also that you can see in this particular case the column is continued through the your connection square knee. This is also a square knee in which you can see this part is the joint part. This is square knee joint. So here you can see the column is continued. So this is the T, you can say, connection in which your beam has been connected. So your beam web is connected with the flange of the column. You can see over here. So this is the angle plate and this is going to be connected with the help of bolts. So these bolts are going to be connected with the, you mean to say your flange of the column. Beam has been connected with the flange of the column. And what about the flanges of the beam? The flanges of the beam are welded with the flange of the column. Here you can see this darker part is going to show you the weld connection. So the welding has been done. And what about these inner parts? These inner parts are going to give you the plates, the stiffener plates. Okay, so it is welded, discontinued. And then with the same design or the different one, these plates are going to be provided just to complete your connection part. Okay, and what about the flange of the column? The flange of the column are both, and even the web are continue. Okay, so there is no discontinuation and there is no discontinuation for the flanges, both flanges of the column and for the web. So this is the figure in which beam is continued towards the knee connection and column is discontinued, and this figure is in which the beam is discontinued and column is continued through the connection. Similarly, in slide number 4, you can see the cross connection. Okay, so this is a cross connection and this is totally a weld connection. It is also a square joint, square knee joint. So in which you can see here the beam and here also the beam. There are 4 beams. Those are connected with one column with the help of welds. So this part is, you can see the darkish part, the grayish, darkish gray part, that is going to be show you the weld connection. So with the help of weld, your cross connection is provided and your beams are going to be connected with the help on the column. So your column is also, the end of the column is also going to be provided with one plate, an extra dimensional plate, and on which that particular plate the beam are welded to provide the knee connection or the knee joint. It is also another figure in which you can see again the beam has discontinued. Okay, and inside the stiffeners are provided. These stiffeners are provided on both sides of the column. Column is continued through the knee joint and your beam is discontinued. So this part, particularly this box part, is going to be show you or going to give you the knee connection that is required a certain design requirements, and you need to design it depending upon that particular efficiency or giving that particular efficiency in which the movement from the beam are safely going to be transferred towards the column. Another type of the square knee is with the bracket that is shown in this figure. This type of the joint may resist the large negative movements. If the larger negative movements are needed to be resisted by the connection, going to be transferred by the connection, so we have to provide the brackets. So that is also reducing the size of the beam and the column itself, because most of the movements are carried out through this path of the bracket and giving you finally the reduced dimensions of the beam and column. So but still you can see in the figure the bracket has been provided, and at the ends of the bracket to provide the stability and to avoid a local yielding at that particular point, we are providing a stiffener. Okay, that stiffener may be any dimension lesser than the total dimension of the web of the column, or it may be provided throughout. Okay, so it depends on the design that at which length of the stiffener you are providing. And the similar thing is over here, the beam is continuous. Here this is another figure that is showing you a bracket. So here you can also see the bracket has been provided. This is your beam that is discontinued. This is column that is continued through the knee connection. Now your knee connection part is not this square part. Okay, once the bracket has been provided, then throughout the bracket, the stiffener, this part will be the part that is a connection part. Your connection now going to be started from the stiffener within the column, then the bracket part, then again the stiffener within the beam, and then the top part. So this area is going to be designed as a connection part. So we may have another type of the knee in which the hunch are provided. So straight hunch knees are the type in which we can say it is a modification of the square knee with the bracket. Okay, so whatever the bracket we are provided just diagonally, those can be provided in hunched form. So in parts we can provide it with different angles. So in this way the two different plates are connected with each other to provide the hunched shape. And this is a straight hunched mean the straight diagonal plates are going to be provided here. So rest will remain same. As I have told you that if you are providing the bracket, okay, so that whole part where the bracket is ending within the beam, and then there is a bracket and you are providing a stiffener within the column, so that area is going to give you the whole knee connection, okay, the knee part, connection part. So now we are providing it in the form of hunch. So the same thing is there. Here is the stiffener within the beam, here is the stiffener within the column, and another diagonal stiffener you are provided wherever the connection of two plates within the hunch is provided for the connection. So now the connection has been designed for that particular area. The beam column sections are discontinued short of the connection. So here you can see the beam has been connected. There is no concept of continuation of the beam or the column, as we have discussed in bracket knees and also in the knees with the diagonal stiffener, square knees properly. So in this particular way your beam has been discontinued with along with the stiffener, and your column will discontinued over here, and only that remaining part will be your corner part will be your connection part. The hunch consists of a separate plate reinforced by the perpendicular stiffeners. Then comes curved hunch knees. This is similar to a straight hunch knee, but with the difference of having a curved inner profile as shown in the figure. So you can see this profile is curved over here. So your rest will remain same. You have discontinued your column over here, you have discontinued your beam over here, and you are providing a diagonal stiffener, and finally you are getting your connection part to be designed. Now we are going to be discussed different aspects for the knee joints needed to be considered for different types of the knees also. For the knees to be used in a knee joint, just to be discussed when we are doing the design. So these aspects are very important, or the points are very important to be discussed before discussing the design criteria. So your square knees have the greatest plastic rotation capacity, but this flexibility increases the service load deflections as they deform elasticity the most under the loads. Now your square knees gives the efficiency in terms of the plastic rotation capacity. This plastic rotation capacity, what is this? That terminology may be new to you. The plastic rotation capacity is the capacity of the material that we can achieve within the plastic range of the material. Once we are going to be draw the stress strain curve for the steel, then you are well familiar with the shape. You have a yielding elastic limit, then you have yielding part, and then you have the ultimate, and finally you have a rupture. So your rupture is point is less than the yielding. Okay, so here you have the ultimate strength. So you are familiar with the design of the steel, and the steel structures also in detail you have discussed, and that we are always using the sigma y, Fy or sigma y as in design strength. Our design strength is within the elastic limit. Just below that yield point we may have the sigma E, that is the elastic stress, and just beyond the elastic stress you are getting your yield strength. This yield strength of the steel material is used as in the design. This is called as elastic design analysis. Okay, this is called as elastic analysis and design for the steel material. But once we are interested in the plastic range, this whole till rupture is going to be called as plastic range within the under the elastic curve, this stress strain curve. This is the plastic range. So here this smaller part is going to give elastic. The deflections means strains you are getting on the horizontal axis within the stress strain curve. These strains are very smaller as compared to the plastic range ER. Okay, so if you are going to be compare your rupture strain with the yield strain, then you will see a hell lot of difference. Your rupture strain is much more larger as compared to the yield strain. Okay, so this value is very small. So once we are going to be discuss or going to be design our structure within the yield limit, then our deflections will be very small at for the if we discuss about the service load deflections. And once we talk about the plastic range, then plastic range for the steel material is going to give you the much more larger strains and also the service load deflections. And once we are designing our steel material as in plastic design you have done, and also the BSc undergrad level scope is restricted to only the elastic design of the steel material. The plastic we will discuss in the MSc level, in postgraduate levels. Okay, so here we are not going to be discuss that, but still, if any rigid frame is designed with the square knees to give you a plastic design, then we need over there the plastic rotation capacity of the material to design under the plastic design. This plastic design is also called as ductile design. In many of the literature you can see this design of the steel material as ductile design, or it is also called as non-linear design, non-linear analysis, and also it is called as inelastic. Elastic part is where we are designing our steel material with respect to the yield strength. So once we are beyond the yield strength, then it will be inelastic design of the steel material. So these are the various terminologies that we are going to be used for the design of a steel structure. So plastic design, inelastic design, ductile design, or the non-linear design of our steel material. So whatever the case is, that particular design requires the efficiency of the steel material in terms of the plastic rotation capacity. So if the more plastic rotation capacity is available with the steel material, it is going to be increase the flexibility and also the service load deflections that is related with the plastic rotation capacity within the plastic design of steel material, as they deform elasticity the most under the loads. So this point you have to keep in your mind, that your square knees are well efficient under the plastic design capacity analysis, and it is going to give you the more rotation capacity. Once we are discussing the curved knees are the most stiff. These are not flexible, but have the least rotation capacity. Okay, so your least rotation capacity is available with the curved knees. If you are going to change the type of the knees, then within the plastic, for the plastic design of the steel structure, its efficiency is also going to be changed. You are getting the least rotation capacity for the curved knees. So with respect to the rotation capacity, plastic rotation capacity, you can take two extremes. Square knees is at one extreme when you are getting the maximum rotation capacity, plastic rotation capacity, and curved knees in the other extreme when you are getting the least. Since the straight tapered knees, mean hunched knees, provided reasonable stiffness along with adequate rotation capacity. Okay, so if an average we will discuss in between these two extreme, then we can consider the straight tapered knees or the straight hunched knees. Those are going to give you an average or the reasonable stiffness along with adequate rotation capacity. Okay, not the maximum, not the least, in between anywhere. So in addition to the fact that they are cheaper than the curved hunches to fabricate, the straight hunch knees are more commonly used. Now, specifically if we talk about the knee joints, to be adequately designed, a knee connection must satisfy the following requirement. So whatever the type of the knee joint you are providing, but finally you have to be satisfy these list of the conditions. The number one, end moments between the beam and column must be transferred. That is the very basic requirement. The beam and shear must safely go to the column. The shear at the top of the column should be transferred into the beam. The joint must deform in a manner consistent with the analysis by which the moment and shears are determined. The analysis methods of the beam and the column should be consistent with the design of your connection with respect to deformation. And finally, if you are doing the plastic design for the steel material, then the plastic hinge associated with the failure mechanism is expected to form at or near the knee. So adequate rotation capacity must be built into the connections. So if you are providing the square knees, then the maximum rotation capacity will be available, and final failure will be occurred in the steel once you are rotation capacity has been expired, then you are getting the failure. This failure mechanism in the plastic design of your steel material is called as plastic hinge. So plastic hinge is a kind of a local failure within the steel material through which the plane of the failure is generated, and finally your material is going to be damaged or going to be failed. Then comes the strength of the connecting elements in compression. So if the compression is needed to be transferred, so according to AISC specifications, when the slenderness ratio of the connecting elements, mean beam and the column, is less than 25, then you can use the Pn is equal to FyAg for the capacity purpose, to get the compression capacity in compression. But if the slenderness ratio of the connecting element is more than 25, you have to design it as a regular compression member. That design you have done earlier. Now, the scope of your study is, for your rigid frame, is the square knees. So, from now onward, we will discuss only the square knee design and its parameter. So, we will discuss about the shear transfer in the square knees. In the design of a rigid frame having square knees, two rolled sections may come together at right angles. You have this beam and this columns. So at a right angle in the square knees, those are going to be connected with each other. The moments, the shears and the axial forces, capital M, capital V and capital H. So from now onward, these designations we will use for the moments, for the shears and for the axial forces. These are acting on boundaries of the square knee region as shown in the figure, and may be determined by either elastic or the plastic analysis. So I have told you that the plastic analysis is not required over here. That is not the scope of the undergrad level. So we will only going to be discuss the elastic. So whatever the elastic analysis has been done, as you have also done for your beam, design of the beam and design of the beam column, you are getting, or you are finally you are getting the answer for the movements in the beam, for the horizontal shear within the beam and the vertical shear. Horizontal mean your axial forces and V is the shear. So these three components, or these three load components you will get by the analysis, and you have already these one. So if you are only interested to design that particular part of the connection, so these four corners you can designate as the A and B, C and D, and you can shift the movement from the column as capital M. You can shift the horizontal shear as capital H and the vertical shear as capital V. Similarly, from the beam also you can shift that. So if the proper shear is needed to be transferred, then this element within that particular square knee, A, B, C, D, that must be in equilibrium. And how to develop that equilibrium, we will see in the coming slide. Now, if we talk about these force components within the beam flanges, acting within the beam flange and acting within the column flange. So what is TC, what is CC, what is TB and CB? For that we have to come towards that movement acting on the column, this knee connection. This movement is needed to be shifted or needed to be transferred into an equivalent couple. That is going to be produce the movement for the forces TB and CB. So if we are going to we want to keep the direction of that movement same, this capital M, okay, and this capital M is needed to be transferred into a couple, that is the TB into DB or CB into DB, okay, then we are going to be consider a force to keep the direction same as the moment M on this joint. Then we need a force that is going to be acting outward of the top flange of the beam, and another force we need that is going to be act inward towards the beam flange. So this CB is going to give you, that particular force that is inward, that is going to give you compression. So this will be a compressive force and it can be designated as CB. B subscript represent the beam. And similarly, if the outward force is going to be represented, that will be the tension, and B is representing the beam. So within the beam flange, in the center of the beam flange, the tensile force will act, and in the center of the beam flange, the bottom flange, the compressive force will act. So these TB, this couple TB into DB or CB into DB, that will be equal to that particular moment, that TB into DB, the depth of the beam, that will be equal to CB into DB, and both will be equal to the capital M. So this is going to be converted. Your movement has been converted with the same sense and with the same magnitude in a couple, that will be TB into DB or CB into DB. The similar we will do for the movement in the column. Okay, so here also the movement has been converted, shifted. The direction of the movement is like this. So this equivalent couple will be TC, the tensile force in the left flange of the column, and CC is the compressive force in the right flange of the column. And this will be approximately, the couple arm will be approximately equal to DC. Okay, so here also you can write the same equation, that the TC into DC and CC into DC will be equal to that moment in the column. Okay, so in this way we may have these forces. Okay, so movement has been shifted or converted into an equivalent couple, and this couple is going to be converted into these forces. So how you can isolate this element A, B, C, D? You can draw separately. In this figure number 6, you can see this element has been drawn over here. So how to show the shear? The top face of this element will be TB. You can see over here. Okay, so this flange, top flange, will be going to give you this TB. So this TB has been shown over here. The direction of the TB will be tensile in nature. Okay, and in the bottom it will be compressive in nature, so it will be CB. Okay, but we are going to be writing the same, because if the DB is same, these two values TB should be equal to CB. Okay, and similarly you can see on the right and left side, so it will be from the column, it will be the TC, that is from the compression in the right flange of the column, and equal and opposite you will get from tension in the left flange of the column. So these compressive and tensile forces are shifted towards these phases of the column, right and left of this element, and these forces TB and CB are shifted on top and bottom of this element. So finally, to stabilize this element, so what should be happened? Your TB should be equal to TC, so that the shear strain is not going to be produced. Okay, so what we have to do, that the capacity of this joint should be enough so that it is going to be resist this TB or TC produced within that particular element, as in shear. So if this is the particular case, then the shear force, or the force that needed to be resisted, that will be TU, or it will be equal to TB or TC, that both components will be same. So we are going to be represent this flange force as TU. So assuming all of the bending movements to be carried out by the flanges, and approximating the distance between the flange centroids as 0.95 dB, the flange force will be equal to mu over 0.95 dB. Okay, so we are considering our dB, mean we are going to be consider that our forces are acting at the center of the flange. So here we have dB, and here we have center of the flange. Okay, so if depth is the total depth, then we are considering it from the center. So it will, this distance between the forces will be approximately considered as equal to 0.95 dB. Okay, not exactly equal to dB, so 95%, 5% we are ignoring, just to be at your flange forces within the flange. So it will be 0.95 dB. The nominal shear strength. Now come to the strength, the capacity. The shear strength of the web in across the edge AB, it will be Vn, or it will be the shear across AB, it will be tau y into Tw into dc, the depth of the column and the thickness of the web. Okay, so tau y is the shear stress, and we are familiar with the relationship of the shear stress with the yield strength, or the yield force. It will be 0.6 of Fy. So phi v is 0.9 over here. So we can replace our tau y with 0.6 Fy, and finally we can get the capacity. So for design, our capacity of the joint should be equal to the produced shear, or the, you can say, the tensile forces within the connection. So in this particular way, you can input both right and left side values in the equation, and from there you can get this TW. TW is the design parameter. This is the required thickness without the diagonal stiffener, thickness of the web region only. Okay, so if we are continuing our beam, that depends. If we are continuing our beam, then we have to see this TW, or we have to compare this TW with the thickness of the web of beam. If we are continuing our column within this niche connection part, then we have to compare our TW, or check our TW against TC, the thickness of the web of column. Okay, so here this TW representing the thickness of the web for this knee part, so connection part, where ABC is the planar area within the knee, that will be dB into DC. So finally you can take out this TW and you can get this required value, and that you have to be remember, this is without the diagonal stiffener. This is very simple and very brief discussion for the cross connection, intersection of a column and the beam. So for that also you have to again generate or take out this particular connection part, square knee part out of it, and you have to again show the shear forces and also the equilibrium needed to be generated against the produced shears, and also against the capacity of this particular knee joint. So similar you are going to be do over here. So here what we can do, if the beam is going to be crossing a column at one particular joint, here you can see the beam is going to be crossing a joint. So column is continued throughout, okay, so beam is discontinued. So that particular part is needed to be designed as in joint. So again what you can do, we can isolate this, or we can designate this particular knee joint part as A, B and C, D, and with this element, within this element we have to show the shear forces. So if Vu is the shear forces against, we are going to be finding out the capacity, then what we can see over here for the beam right hand side, all of the parameters are designated as 2 subscript, Tu2, Cu2, okay, and also Mu2, and the left hand side beam movements and all other respective parameters are shown, are going to be represented as the subscript 1, so CS1, TS1 and Mu1. So in this way the movements are shown in this, within this connection part. So Mu2 and Mu1 here you can see, and later on we can develop again this. So you can see over here Vu is in the left direction, while CS1 is in right direction and Tu2 is in the right direction. So these are in the same direction, sense is same, but this shear applied on the phase AB, its direction is opposite. So we are getting this equation, Cu1 plus Tu2 minus Vu. Shear capacity without the stiffener, it will be 5EVN, and Vu will be the factored shear in the column. Equating the shear resistance along the edge AB. So whatever Cu1 is, you are writing its equation. For Tu2, you are writing its corresponding equation, and for Vu it will be the same. And on the other side, capacity equation will be the same as we have discussed earlier. TW required can be get by taking all of the parameters on the other side of the equation, and finally simplifying the equation you will get this formula. So it is going to give you the required thickness of the web within the knee joint without the diagonal stiffener. Now we're talking about again and again about the diagonal stiffener. Okay, so in a rigid frame knees, the required web thickness usually exceeds that provided by a W section, and the reinforcement is required. That's what I am telling you, that whatever the TW you have calculated without the diagonal stiffener need to be compared with the thickness of the web that is continued either of the beam or the column, whatever the case is. So if the thickness of the web that already you have been provided, either beam or the column thickness, web thickness, that is, if it is less than the required thickness of the joint, then what we have to do, we are needed an extra reinforcement. That extra reinforcement for the knee joint is provided with the help of a diagonal stiffener. A double plate is sometimes used to thicken the web region, which is not a general or practical solution because of the difficulty of making the attachment to the column web. So mean to say that if in 2D we will say this is the knee connection and we are providing a plate, double plate over here. So this double plate mean another plate has been provided. So if we see from this side of this joint, then this is the knee connection and you are providing the whole of the plate on this side and one complete plate on this planar region on the other side. So this is going to give you the complete connection on all of the sides. Okay, so here all of the needed weld or bolts to be connected with the connection. So it is generally not you can say an easy approach towards the fabrication point of view. So we are not following that. So what is the easiest way is that you are providing a diagonal stiffener. Okay, so diagonally, just this diagonal plate has been provided. So usually a pair of a diagonal stiffener is the best solution. So you can see pair mean on one side of the plate and also on the back side of it. Okay, on both sides you are providing this plate that is called as diagonal stiffener. So how it is going to be increase the efficiency of your scare knees? So you are providing a diagonal stiffener. Within the diagonal stiffener, the forces are going to be produced as CST. CST is going to give you, the CST is for stiffener and C is the compressive force. So if we are going to be show the angle of the diagonal stiffener as theta, then two components going to be produced. So one component along the phase AB, it will be CST cos of theta. So once you are going to be developing the equation for the capacity of this joint, then this CST cos of theta is going to be contribute towards the efficiency of the, or towards the, to increase the, enhance the capacity of the this shear connection. You will see. So stiffener resistive compressive force, the CST, that can be written as AST phi CFCR, area of the stiffener. FCR may be considered equal to 0.95 Fy if KL over R of the stiffener is less than or equal to 25. Applied shear on the web is equal to TU. When diagonal stiffeners are used, the horizontal component CST cos of theta of the stiffener force participate in resisting the shear within the web. It will be in the same direction as of your VU, your capacity. So your TU will be equal to VAB plus CST cos of theta. So VAB is equal to N, okay, your capacity, nominal capacity, shear capacity. So it will be 5V.60 Fy TW into DC that we have discussed earlier. Now this is going to be adding on this side of the equation. That the sense of the component of this particular cos component of the stiffener, the compression produced within the diagonal stiffener, that will be along in the same direction as the capacity is there. So on the other side the same equation is there. From there you can take out this area of stiffener, because TW without the diagonal stiffener we have already calculated. Now we need an extra strengthening or extra reinforcement. This extra reinforcement needed to be provide the design parameter by using the design parameter as area of the stiffener, because we need to provide a plate, the diagonal plate. That plate is requiring a certain dimensions as B mean width of the stiffener and the thickness of the stiffener. So that is needed to be can be calculated once the area of the stiffener will be with us. So area of the stiffener here will be the design parameter. So you are calculating it by inputting the TW that we have already calculated without the diagonal stiffener. Phi V is 0.90 for any yield limit state like in shear. Phi C will be 0.85 for the compression element, and FCR is the compression limit state stress. We are already known with that.